Shalom Havarim, James Trim here. I am making this video simultaneously as a Facebook Live video and also recording it as a YouTube video for my YouTube channel. So for those of you that are on YouTube, I want to remind you all to like this video, to subscribe to this channel, to click the notification bell so you get notifications of new videos. In both of these videos on Facebook and YouTube, I want to encourage everybody to let me know what you think in the comments and participate in the discussions in the comments, and to share this video with your friends on social media. So I'm going to be talking to you very briefly about my dream for Nazarene Judaism, and that is a Nazarene Yeshiva. In fact, the idea I have been working on developing for some time is called Yeshivat Gemara, which is Yeshiva of the mature, the completed, and it's related to the word Gemara, from which we get the Mishnah and the Gemara and the Talmud, but also the word that's used in Timothy for a believer that's mature. Okay, so to begin with, there are two things the New Testament church didn't have, and that's a New Testament and a church. Mary wasn't a Catholic, John wasn't a Baptist, and Jesus wasn't a Christian. The original followers of Yeshua as the Messiah were not Christians. They were Jews. And Mary wasn't a Catholic, John wasn't a Baptist, Jesus wasn't a Christian. They were all Jews. Yeshua's original followers were all Jews. They were not Christians. They were all Jews that accepted Yeshua as the Jewish Messiah of Judaism. And this group of Jews were a sect that came to be known as the sect of the Nazarenes. They're mentioned in the book of Acts as the sect of the Nazarenes. They're mentioned by so-called church fathers like Epiphanius and Jerome as the Nazarene sect of Judaism. Okay. They were an unlikely union of Essene Jews and Pharisaic Jews of the school of Hillel. They had really kind of elements of both. So we have this understanding of who the original followers of Yeshua were, that they were in fact a sect of Judaism. Then we can start to put Humpty Dumpty back together again. And this is something that I have been working on my entire adult life. And there's a lot of elements that play into that work, the Hebrew and Aramaic origin of the New Testament. Understanding the New Testament, not only, it's actually the Ketuvim Netzarim, the writings of the Nazarenes, commonly known as the New Testament. Understanding that book in its Jewish context as Second Temple era Judaism, in context of Second Temple era literature, rabbinic literature, the Dead Sea Scrolls, Philo of Alexandria, Josephus, and so on. The ultimate need is for a Nazarene yeshiva, and this is my great dream. A Nazarene yeshiva, where Nazarenes would, I would say, come and study, although in the modern era, because we are scattered around the world, it's not necessarily going to be a place so much as an online yeshiva, although the day may come when there is a physical location somewhere in the world. And in this yeshiva, Nazarenes, this is why there's such a great need for it. We need Nazarene laymen and leaders that are as familiar with the Talmud and the Zohar and the rabbinic literature as an Orthodox rabbi. At the same time, they also need to be familiar with not only the Tanakh, obviously, but the Ketuvim Netzarim, the writings of the Nazarenes. They need to be familiar with the Hebrew and Aramaic origin of those books, the Hebrew and Aramaic manuscripts that we have of those books. They need to be delving into and dissecting and understanding the Hebrew language, the Hebrew words, the Hebrew vocabulary, the Hebrew grammar, the actual text of those books as Hebrew literature, as Jewish literature, based on Jewish hermeneutics, based on their Hebrew and Aramaic, and understanding them in a Jewish context. And all of this, we need to be studying these books, as I said, from Hebrew and Aramaic. We also need to be studying in this yeshiva the Messianic prophecies, apologetics for the Ketuvim Netzarim, as well as the Messiahship of Yeshua, as well as Torah observance, and other material on Second Temple era Judaism. Unlike an Orthodox Jewish yeshiva, they also need to understand and learn the Ketuvim Netzarim as formal midrash. There are formal forms of midrash it is laid out. Books of the Ketuvim Netzarim are laid out in many places according to formal forms of midrash as understood in Rabbinic Judaism. But also the Dead Sea Scrolls, which are not studied in a rabbinic yeshiva, but are something we need to study because there are Essene elements in the Ketuvim Netzarim. It was an unlikely union of Essenes and School of Hillel Pharisees. The writings of Flavius Josephus as shedding light on Second Temple era Judaism of the Pharisees, Sadducees, and Essenes of his time period, of Philo of Alexandria and his insights on Second Temple era Judaism as well. There is so much to study. And the dream that I have is to bring about a Nazarene yeshiva. But I can't do this alone. I need your help. You see, there are thousands of yeshivot in Israel. And those yeshivot in Israel are subsidized by the Israeli government. Even the students are subsidized by the Israeli government with stipends for paying them to study Torah. There are fewer yeshivot in the United States, but there are yeshivot in the United States. But they are funded also by a lot of grants. This is not something that's going to be super profitable as a business model on the surface, because the people that can have the time to dedicate to studying in a yeshiva are not working full-time jobs. And those are the people that can't necessarily afford to pay very much, if anything, for yeshiva classes. This is where we need the community to step in. The Israeli government and the Orthodox Jewish community are not going to fund this effort. I'm asking you to do that. All of you, to all work together to fund a Nazarene yeshiva. And it's not just the yeshiva classes that will be funded, also the research and work on Hebrew and Aramaic New Testament manuscripts is all part and parcel of this dream. Can you imagine a yeshiva like a rabbinic yeshiva where the Talmud is studied, where the rabbinic literature is studied, but the Dead Sea Scrolls, Josephus and Philo, are also studied, and the Ketuvim and Netzarim is studied in the original Hebrew and Aramaic, and we're looking at the Aramaic and the Hebrew as formal forms of midrash and interpreting it based on the actual Aramaic words and grammar that are there, or Hebrew words and grammar in the case of Hebrew, and that this forms the basis for our studies. And we're looking at these Aramaic words and saying, oh, well, this Aramaic word that's used here by Yochanan or in by Yeshua in the Gospel of Matthew or whatever, it's the same Aramaic word that's used in the Talmud to mean this or that. There's so much, and the Targums as well, exactly. There's so much. Can you imagine Yeshiva students? This is where Orthodox Judaism will become jealous of us, because we will be as educated as them, but more educated than them, if we can make this happen. Because first of all, they don't know the Nazarene writings, and they don't know the Dead Sea Scrolls. They don't know Philo, and they don't know Josephus and the other things that students of this yeshiva will be learning. And on top of all that, we'll be understanding Messianic prophecy on a level higher than anybody. Okay. So please donate to support this work. I want you to get excited about it, and I want you to understand that this is the future. And we need your help to make it happen. There is an old Jewish story, some of you have heard me tell this story before, about the poor Jewish couple that were getting married. And they asked everybody, instead of bringing wedding gifts, to just bring a bottle of wine and pour it into the vat. They had an empty vat of wine there. And for everybody to bring a bottle of wine with which to celebrate the wedding. And everybody in the village was invited. And the people in the village, every one of them thought, I will not bring a bottle of wine. No one will notice that I didn't bring a bottle of wine. Amongst so many people, my bottle will not be missed. Well, the day of the wedding came, and it came time for the wedding wine to be drawn, and the tap was opened up, and it was bone dry. Everyone had expected that someone else would bring the wine. Someone else would do their part. So I'm asking you all to do that part. The Israeli government isn't going to subsidize this yeshiva, but it will greatly benefit the Jewish people. The Orthodox are not going to subsidize this yeshiva, but they're going to greatly benefit, whether they know it or not, or like it or not, from this yeshiva. None of them are going to sponsor this yeshiva or subsidize this yeshiva. I'm asking you to do that for them. Okay? Now, how can you donate? Well, you can donate by going to the donate link that I will put in the video description on YouTube, and I'll add to the video description on Facebook and in the comments on Facebook. Or you can send donations by PayPal to donations@wnae.org. I want us to generate not just functioning month to month, where I'm sending out messages asking for more funds each month. I want us to generate a stockpile. I want us to be able to build a yeshiva, not necessarily a physical yeshiva right away. Now, we already started teaching classes. We started a Talmud class last Saturday that's meeting online. If you're interested in that class, let me know in the comments and I'll reach out to you, and we'll try and get you into the class. So please, if you're interested in yeshiva classes, let us know. The things we're going to be studying, the things that you would study in an Orthodox yeshiva. For those that don't know, I studied with Orthodox rabbis. I studied under Rabbi Armand Danny Moyal in the 80s, and in the early 90s I studied under Rabbi Herbert J. Gilner. these were great rabbis. Rabbi Moel was a believer, an Orthodox rabbi from Israel who had become a believer in Yeshua as the Jewish Messiah of Judaism. Rabbi Herbert J. Gilner did not believe Yeshua was the Messiah, but he had no problem with the fact that I did. He was an Orthodox rabbi from New York, from Brooklyn, and he taught me one-on-one, and he had a great interest in Hebrew and Aramaic origins of the New Testament. So I learned a great deal from them, and I'd like to share those things and teach Talmud and teach Zohar, and ultimately I want this yeshiva to teach Hebrew and Aramaic and Jewish hermeneutics, as well as the Dead Sea Scrolls, Josephus, Philo, the Ketuvim Netzarim, and the Tanakh. You know, Rabbi Kahani in his yeshiva made a point of making sure that the Tanakh got taught as well. All right, so if you have any questions, let me know in the comments. Glad to interact with you. And I hope that many of you will share this dream with me and share this video with your friends, and we will together make this happen. Until next time, everybody, shalom.